proposition to you today is actually part and parcel of this is knowing what your value is as an artist, and that's what makes you sustainable. According to John Dryzak, the word sustainability emerged in the 1980s and was defined as, quote, imaginative attempts to dissolve conflicts between environmental and economic events that energize the discourses of problem solving and its limits. And I've recently been reading a book by Nassim Taleb called Anti-Fragile, about this idea about the different aspects of our life which are fragile, that is easy to break, ones that are robust, which are traditionally and conventionally strong, and ones which are anti-fragile, which is the opposite of fragile, but not quite so in that respect. He argues that whilst the latter is not the opposite of fragile, it is the most resilient because stress causes us to learn and reevaluate things. For example, in terms of our perception of knowledge, the fragile approach would embrace academia, the robust approach would embrace expertise, and the anti-fragile approach would embrace erudition, that is to say, depth, polish, and breadth that education can confer. So it's not dismissing all academia, it's just the approaches to it. So I'm kind of curious about how we juggle things. Last night I did a talk with David actually about For the Love of It and why artists are meant to do what they do because they love it. It's so nice, we shouldn't actually get paid for it. I fundamentally disagree with that. I think we have something much more profound to contribute. So I'm resisting this idea that we are niche. I think we can contribute not just to culture, but actually to broader society, whatever that may be. And I see this when not particularly the postgraduate students, but with the undergraduate students, when their parents come round and they're walking around the college going, £27,000, 3 years here, oh dear, no. They'll end up with being a malingering, penniless artist harbouring strange ideas. So, I beg to differ about that. I think there are other things that are really important. There's also a debate about what a continuing artist or a continuous artist is, about somebody who just repeatedly does things. I'm not sure that is an artist. Pavel Buchler talks about the idea that the artist's value is in what they do rather than what they make. And this includes activism, I would argue. But I think we should celebrate lots of things that we can do. I think that there's a really interesting article by a writer an artist called Andrew Simonet. And he talks about the fact that, if we were proposed to do, if somebody came to us and said, well, we've got a children's chorus, we've got some trained cats, and we've got 2 hot air balloons, we'd like you to do something with this. And most human beings would walk away going, you're joking, mate. Most artists will turn around and go, yeah, what's your budget? The fact that we can actually be so kind of inventive in terms of problem solving, when this country actually values things, there's currently a Radio 4 programme that's actually trying to celebrate what Britain is best at. And I heard a lot of people talking about engineers and all that kind of problem solving. Artists are doing exactly that same problem solving. Why are we not being valued for that, in that respect? I think there's also that idea that there is a financial economy that's important with the art world. At the kind of upper end, it's kind of very much evidenced by the Olympics. I suppose it's evidenced by the kind of the YBAs. But I think there are other things that are even more important about what creates our resilience in that respect. And I think one of which is the idea of our intangible portfolio. We have multiple viewpoints. We have divergent thinking. We have metacognition. We are able to wonder what if. I think the second aspect is that the fact we have a performative quality within our practice, that we speak and we talk and we discuss and we have sessions like this. And so we're very good at talking not just to artists, but fellow human beings across the disciplines. And because of that, and because of that empathy, we can act as brokers between disciplines. Because we intrinsically dislike repetition, and we're open to innovation. And this is particularly good in terms of problem solving. And a lot of the kind of formal training in this country that is vocational isn't really about that kind of open-ended problem solving. Our aesthetic appreciation includes spatial and contextual understanding. So we understand space and place. We understand the idea of the micro and the macro. All of these are really important in terms of that kind of empathy and contribution. And the fact that the way we run the courses here is so about self-directed peer learning. So we're actually asking you, even when you're a student, to be independent, as well as operating as part of a team. And to return to Andrew Simonet, I want to quote him. He said, "I think of artists like scientists. Just like scientists, we begin with a question, something we don't know. We go into our studio and research that question. Like scientists, at the end of our research, we share the results with the public and our peers. Some research is basic, useful primarily to other researchers. Some is applied, relevant to everyday life, but both are essential." This is the nub of the argument. That's why I'm arguing that we are not niche, we are skilled and we're relevant and we deserve to be paid for the outcomes of our research. That's research with a small r. We can also make a difference in many different contexts. You know, one of the things I'm talking about within my practice at the moment is that kind of aesthetic fragility is actually useful because it can make people engage with things like climate change, which they don't particularly want to think about the consequences of, because it will mean little impact on their night lives in ways that they'll have to give up things, so they're not happy about that. So that's my argument, basically, that we are sustainable and resilient. I think the final quote is that Simonet basically says, "Artists who learn to handle their finances find sustainability. Artists who learn to handle time find balance." And my proposition to you for today is, which would you prefer, balance or sustainability? Thank you.